Good afternoon, everyone. Today's topic will be discussing on social intelligence. You all must have heard people speaking, pointing at someone, saying that he does not have tact, or she is not street smart, or somebody even saying that you don't have common sense. Now, what are these phrases? These phrases are talking to us about something which we lack or something which we may have but we have not exhibited. Now, the exhibition of this is in our behaviors, and the cues which come to our behaviors are mostly connected with our experiences and the learnings which we do. The topic, social intelligence, is something which is the need of the hour for us to be successful, for us to have our own better interactions, and also make us feel good about ourselves. Now, social interactions, what we talk day in and day out, we do, and this is one element which actually makes the human beings very superior. Social intelligence is not by birth. It is something which we learn, we develop, and we also exhibit. Intelligence is mainly genetic, but social intelligence, as I said, is learned. Some of us learn because we see others, we imitate, we pick up from the environment. For some of us, we learn through experience because we undergo certain experience and then we learn, oh, this behavior we should have exhibited so that, the kind of response we get from others is different. For some, we have to tell them, this is not working. Can you work on this particular aspect in your behaviors or in your interactions? It is the ability to successfully build relationships and navigate social environments. Social environment is the capacity to communicate from relationships with empathy and assertiveness. It comes from knowing yourself and exercising proper emotional management. So it's not just we are talking about intelligence, but it embodies a lot of other components which make people better in a social forum or act better in a conversation. Let's look at this. There could be scenarios where you feel very good because your interaction went on well. And there could be scenarios where you would have felt that it didn't go well. Why? That could be because you would have connected well with people, or you would have listened to people better, or in your response you would have tuned with the conversation which was happening. Now, that's social intelligence. Absence of social intelligence actually makes you a person who is not reckoned with or accepted or made to feel good about. It's not done by others, but it's done by us. We ourselves create that scenarios because we respond differently. Let's look at what could come under social intelligence. What is this social intelligence all about? As I told you, common sense, tact, street smartness is something which people label us. However, there's a lot more to talk about this. Why do we need to keep this? We need it because we have to be seen in the society as someone. We have to be reckoned with. We have to be acknowledged as someone in the society. And our interactions have to become better every day. So, let me give an example. Today morning, I had to go to a meeting early morning, and then this meeting was very close to my house, and it was very important that we all residents of this particular locality had to go and attend this meeting. Of course, we had to do the physical distance and all those precautions. We went to this meeting, and this was from the Welfare Association of the buildings. Now, the role there, I was a part of a member in the Welfare Association, having been staying in that particular premises. So my role I just went, attended, participated. Yes, I just attended. I didn't speak much there because somebody had to tell us certain rules, do's and don'ts when the lockdown gets lifted. Second, I had to attend another meeting, and this meeting is official meeting, and I had to drive down to this place, meet my manager and meet certain clientele along with my manager and have a discussion about certain future projects. Now, my role was to present, to interact, to give my opinions, to suggest something, and to take away certain things as activity to be done for the next day. Now, come back to this. Again, I had to go to some other place where I had to pick up stuff which has to be delivered into my neighbor's house. Now, this person whom I visited was totally a stranger, but he was waiting for me at the gate, and he just gave me the parcel and which was put in the car, and then we moved on. Now, look at this, all these interactions I had since morning. One, I knew people, but in that interaction, my role was a spectator role or least participant role. The second role I had to act on. I had to give my opinions. I have to keep thinking. I have to listen to people. I have to communicate. I have to respond to somebody. And I have to keep all this meeting together. So the kind of role I played there is different from the third role where I don't know the person, but I just helped somebody connecting on something. If you look at it, all these roles had a social interaction in them. However, the way I have responded to the situation and the meetings or the interactions was totally different. That is what happens with us. We perform several roles in the day, and every role has certain rules, certain norms, and also we have to play those in the appropriate fashion so that we get the right response. Suppose I did not play these roles properly. For example, in the meeting with the Welfare Association, suppose I did more talking or I did not understand the sensitivity of the situation but argued on something which I wasn't happy, probably the intelligence I displayed there would be very much against the purpose for that meeting. Same way, if I was in an official meeting and I was not participating, not responding, but then generally talking about something which is not relevant, probably this would have been a disaster. So, we have certain cues which we pick up from the environment, we get prepared on something, and then we have these interactions. Sometimes we prioritize these interactions, and all this is happening because of our exposure and experience. So when we talk about social interactions, as I was using of intelligence in the social context, you will be using it with a premise that you are a stimulus and a response yourself. Like you are talking and also you are responding. You are reacting and also sometimes you are staying calm and then picking up the cues. And these are the ones which will actually create a relationship, create trust, build connectivity with the people, influence someone, inspire someone, and also the social intelligence, whenever is displayed, it shows the person's maturity. So what does social intelligence consist of? It generally, when we look at a context, we generally look at the communication and we say, oh, that's good, that's going on well, there is a wavelength we have, and these are the things which we generally talk about. So verbal fluency and conversational skills, knowledge of social roles, rules and scripts, effective listening skills, understanding what makes other person tick, role playing and social self-efficacy, impression management skills. Now these are all some things which are typically, when we look at communication skills, we hear certain things from here. Personality development, we hear certain things from here. And also understanding the social situations, context, we also know about certain. So when we put all these things together is something which we are talking about, social intelligence now. very recently this word has been more heard than it was before, because we have been moving from a very hierarchical kind of organization to a very virtual kind of organizations. So it's very important for us to understand the cues and behave, not in a regimental fashion. And also we have seen success coming in because of these interactions. The new economy and the new businesses need such skills. So social intelligence will stay, and we have to engage ourselves to develop ourselves in this context. Let's look at this one by one. So there's something called social facility. To simply sense how others feel, or to know what they think or intend to say, it doesn't always guarantee fruitful interactions. It also needs certain awareness about the person, certain awareness about the situation, and also effective interactions. So this is what we call as social facility. Again, this has a lot of other components which go into this. First and foremost, synchrony. So to interact smoothly with others at the non-verbal level, lot of times our behaviors or our conversations go with the way the person is giving cues to us at a non-verbal level, in the sense gestures or facial expressions or something which we intuitively understand. There is no need for a word to be told. For example, when I walked in to a place, I felt everybody was very silent and I didn't know what was happening there, and I walked in, and it took little time for me to understand there was someone who is very ill and he was being looked at by the doctor, and the family was waiting to hear the news. Now, that's the scenario where the non-verbal behaviors have already told me this is a place where you have to be silent, or where you have to not blurt out something or make that particular environment into a what you call a spoken kind of a situation, or where you would alter the attention of all the people present there because of your loud voice or whatever. So this cue which I got from the room made me feel that this is a place where I have to be silent. Now, I synchronized my behaviors, my understanding of the environment with that particular situation. So synchrony is something which we all do, very intuitively we do. But for some of us, this is very difficult because we are not present to the environment which we are put. So we go off tangent, and then that's where people will say, you are not smart enough to understand something. Now, social intelligence needs synchrony. There are times when you walk into a party and you are someone who everybody is looking at, and you just walk around the room and you meet several people and you interact with several people. You interact with children, you interact with adults, you interact with old people, and everybody feels very wanted to talk to you. Why does this happen? This happens because you understood the cues each of them would need. When you enter, you give it to them, and they also reciprocate, which makes you feel good. So that's a simple interaction. But then in the room, if somebody was observing what was happening, it clearly shows that the way you walked around and connected with people shows that your intelligence at the social level is very active. Okay, so let's look at the second one. Again, self-presentation. Now, whenever we talk about social intelligence, I have seen a lot of people saying that it is something which is very extrovertish, or it is something where there is no need but people talk. It's not like that. Social intelligence actually plays around with the way the situations are, where the people are, and the way the purpose of that particular interaction is. For example, self-presentation might look little away from a normal behavior. I'm not saying self-presentation in a behavior or a context which is not normal. Self-presentation is exactly required in a social context where you are expressing yourself, where you are honest about your feelings and thoughts, and when it is required, you express about it. You are not masking it just to make others guess about what you are thinking. But if the situation demands, you would express that. That is your self-presentation. So to present ourselves effectively in social situations so that others can easily understand how you feel, how you think is self-presentation. Coming to influence. Influence is something which makes us connect with others for a larger purpose sometimes, to help shape the outcome of that meeting. Suppose if I'm sitting in a sales meeting, or let me say if I'm sitting with a lot of faculty members and we have to discuss on a project which is coming up, and if I'm not using my influence skills, probably the outcome of this discussion may not be something which we would like to have. Sometimes we have a purpose why we are there in that situation. Unless you use your influence skills and connect with people, influence is not negative. Influence is when you are putting your thoughts and you are also connecting and seeking the other people's thoughts and then converging them for a decision or an outcome, and that's where you are using your influence skills. And this is very much required for a social intelligent person. So influence is to shape up an outcome of social interactions in a manner that is acceptable for others. Most social issues require at least some negotiation, some give and some take. Like in a discussion, you have a point to put and somebody else also has a point to put. Then you discuss both of these points, which one would give a better outcome, and you come out with a consensus and you both are fine with that. And that's his influence. Sometimes you take it, sometimes you give it based on your knowledge and skills and the level of influence you can use. So it's very important to learn how to negotiate fairly and effectively. The negotiation which happens under good influence does not make people feel bad or burn the bridges. Next comes concern. In social intelligence, a lot of us connect to how you attend to other people or how you show your concern towards other people. Now, when we talk about concern in the context of social interactions, a lot of us have the feeling of empathy, and we also show that. And in certain times, we may not feel like showing it, but then we have that. So when we talk about concern in this context, it is about caring about a person, appropriately act on the needs which are required by the person, and also a contributing factor for the other person feel that you are showing interest in that person. So a concern in the social intelligence context is where you are highly interdependent as social beings. We need some reciprocal behaviors from others which will make us feel good. So our concerns also come out in such a way. There are times when I have seen lot of people keep telling me that I feel very comfortable talking to so and so person, and some people say I'm not comfortable with that person. Why do you think so? It is because the other person is reciprocating and responding to this person in such a way that he feels comfortable and trusts the person, and he can open up his heart and speak to them. So the concern, which is a reciprocal emotion outplay in a conversation or a social context, is very important. It's very simple. Sometimes the cues could be like when you are walking with some heavy stuff in your hand and somebody opens the door. It's as simple as that. Then you just say thank you and move on. But then that is something where the person has shown concern on you. There could be some less social intelligent people who might even stand near the door and talk to you when you are holding such a weight. That is not being socially intelligent. Maybe they are not showing the concern, so there is something wrong in that particular transaction or interaction. So we can see it later, but now for the being that concern is also very important in connecting with people. Now, so certain cues we see in our day-to-day life. Like for example, we have to have knowledge about our roles. I play a mother's role, I play an aunt's role, I also play a daughter's role, or I could play a fellow colleague's role. So all these roles have certain norms and rules around that. So knowledge of this is very important. Socially intelligent individuals learn how to play various social roles. They are also well versed in informal roles or norms which are not said out, which are not totally pulled out and said you have to behave in this way, but then they intuitively learn about that and then display that. Now, for example, the slide which I am showing, it clearly says that this is not the place to go. And in this COVID times also, I have seen it clearly says that people should not come out of their houses, or they should have a physical distance of certain 1-2 meters physical distance, or they should wear a mask. How many of us are even listening to this? A lot of times we give a reason for this, and thereby we are also showing that we don't care, and that's where the social intelligent person has to display. And not displaying also shows in a certain way of behavior from others. So here also you have a road signs are there, but still people keep driving along, or somebody says this is not the place to go because it's harmful because of that whatever animals or dangerous animals are there and all, but still people walk in and then get into trouble. So here we are not displaying social intelligence. So something else is masking the social intelligence. Otherwise this person must have been a very good person displaying social intelligence in other contexts, but here the knowledge and the role which they will be playing and the rules of the game they are not following, that shows they are not intelligent at a social interaction level. So while we are talking about this, there could be some other aspects which a socially intelligent person displays. Most of the research in social psychology, anthropology, people who study the cultures of different tribes or different cultures of society's cultures, they all come up with certain basic things which they say across all the cultures. Sometimes we see these coming up very closely, like the Western culture or the Eastern culture. They have certain things in the human behavior which probably at a behavioral level are different, but in the thinking level also sometimes there's a huge difference. So let's look at it, how it spans out in the context of different cultures. So in social intelligence, there's something called primal empathy. We all have that empathetic view about other things. So also, a primal empathy is to sense the non-verbal emotional signals of others and to feel what they are feeling. Like I told you an example when I walked into a relative's house where a person was very sick and everybody was very silent. Now, somebody was crying there, somebody was sobbing, somebody was very silently sitting. So my understanding of that situation was, I understood what they are going through, and I reciprocated that by going and standing next to them or putting my hand around their shoulders or just patting them on the back. So these are the things which we display in a primal empathy, when we understand what the other person is going through and we also are with them. So primal empathy is very important. Primal empathy can also take place in different ways. For example, let's look at two cultures. As I said, Americans, when somebody walked into an American's house for a discussion or for just like that walked in, the person immediately said, would you like to eat something? Do I order something for you? So the other person, who happened to be a Japanese, he was very silent. He didn't know what to say. He felt it was not appropriate. He also felt it was rude. Now come to a Japanese house and somebody walks in, and a Japanese house, actually if the time is around afternoon time and the person is walking in and the person would have traveled and coming in, they would have laid out the lunch for them. They wouldn't ask, will you have lunch? Are you hungry? No. So the cultures are different. Here the primal empathy is the way they communicate is slightly different. For some it might sound very rude. For some it might sound very insensitive. So this cultural difference happens most of the time. So you have to have the intelligence to understand the cues from the cultural difference point and then react or respond in that way. So primal empathy is to sense non-verbal or emotional behavior at a level where you would respond in that way. Second one, which we look at in social intelligence context, is attunement. I have seen in interactions when we go into a senior manager's room or when we go into principal's chambers, and if the principal was not looking at you but looking at the ceiling or the floor or somebody else, or looking into the laptop or something like that, you would feel very offended because you are not being attended to. Or at least if you are having a conversation, the person is not listening. That makes you feel very uncomfortable. Now that is attunement. Attunement is when you understand the situation and respond in a way that the person is also feeling that you are reciprocating to the conversation or to the context which they are in. So attunement is also very important, how you relate to a subject and the person whom you are discussing with. And a lot of times we see in the interviews, they check out on this skill through the eye contact or through the person, whether they are actually listening to them or not. They'll also ask a question like, did you know, can you just respond to what I just told you? That means, are you listening to me? So reciprocity comes only when you do an active listening. Now this empathetic accuracy is another major skill which somebody has to actually learn, and learn by imitation, learn by seeing, and learn by experience. Empathetic accuracy is something we just like that say that I am very empathetic towards this, or I am showing my empathy. It doesn't matter. It doesn't work that way. Empathetic accuracy, at that point, what is required or what the person is feeling, if you were able to understand it, you would respond to it. You would not feel it, but you will respond to the person. To the person's empathetic feeling is the emotions which you would translate to the other person so that the person feels comfortable. For example, empathetic accuracy is actually to consciously and accurately understand other person's thoughts, feelings, and intentions. Mirror neurons function at a subliminal level, but we often need to add prior experience with the immediate challenge in order to consciously grasp and appropriately respond to the real intention of the other person. Lot of times I have seen in the situations where you have to negotiate, and you have to negotiate hard, let's say on a product pricing, or it could be something you negotiate at a relationship level. Empathetic accuracy is something which is seen in good negotiations. You try to understand the person's intentions, feelings, and also what the person might be thinking, and respond accordingly to bring the person to see the view which you are also holding, or you see the view that they are holding. Okay, and one example which comes very often in relationship issues is lack of empathetic accuracy. I'll give an example. There was this guy who was actually wanting to propose to a lady, and he happened to go to her house, talk to the parents, and they were saying, okay, let's see, probably seems to be a good guy and maybe she is liking him, so let's go a little further and understand each other. Now after third or fourth day, this gentleman calls the girl or the lady and says, look, I'm going out for a meeting in so and so place, would it be possible for you to join me there? Now she comes from a conservative family, though she is working and all. For them, going out before marriage was something which was not heard of. However, she politely declines, saying that my parents' wedding anniversary is there, so I may have to stay back. Some other time I would come. It would have been a good thing had I gone with you. Very politely she says. Now the response of the other person should have been saying that, okay, fine, maybe next time we'll go. However, in this particular scenario, the person became very rude, very distanced in his later conversations, and he started showing the impatience on the parents. So these conversations actually broke the trust which they developed, and also later on it didn't move on further in having them continue the relationship. What happened here is the person's empathetic accuracy was lacking. he understood the situation. If he were in that particular position, probably he could have also understood. But he was saying that I understand what it happens, how it happens, but then when the response came, it was totally opposite. He was thinking about himself and not the other person's feelings. So empathetic accuracy is very important when it happens in relationships, to build trust and also to have a long-term association with someone. So reciprocating that aspect is very important for social intelligence. Let's look at social cognition. Cognitive psychology is a big field in itself. How people relate to each other and how people understand the social environment and then work around that. So social cognition is also something similar, where knowing how the social world works, such as the appropriate behavior in restaurants, in theaters, when you go to your relative's place, or when you are in a meeting, when you are in a conference, then social cognition emerges out of the development of primal empathy, attunement, and empathetic accuracy. So all the three actually play out very well when it comes in a social situation, and how you respond and react to that is the social cognition. For example, when you are getting into a meeting which you are not aware about how people will behave and all that, you have not met them before, but it's the first time you're walking in, all these things will work out. Somewhere in your mind, your experiences about others, your experiences about meetings, all these little things work out, and then you try to bring all that and create an environment where you are adjusting yourself and then feel comfortable about it. So social cognition is a very important skill again in this. So all these skills, when we look at, has certain social rules, and they also have certain customs, and they are very fundamental skills which for socially intelligent people to behave in a certain situation. And especially when you are coming from diverse cultures. In India, we have several cultures. For example, from north to south, there is a huge variation in the way people would behave in certain situations, from east to west as well. So every part of India has their own unique cultures. So how do you understand other cultures and also attune to that, or create your empathetic accuracy, or create your primal empathy? All these things have to span out in a social interaction. So social intelligence in this context is when you interact with a group, knowing their social rules, customs, and idiosyncrasies is a fundamental skill for socially intelligent person. Typically, we have seen in salespeople who fly around, who move around the country and go to various places, they get attuned very fast because they understand the culture. They know who the customer is. For example, if I am from South and I am going to Gujarat and I am having an interaction with a person native of Gujarat, my attunement for his culture and his business acumen has to be very high to understand and negotiate and win the deal. Same way, if I am going into some other part of country, probably I should do my homework better, understanding and meeting some people casually and then getting to know about things and then having a better negotiation. So these are again skills which are required. Earlier we were talking certain professions would need this kind of a skills. Let me tell you, everybody needs these skills. It's not just the salespeople, or it's not just someone who is doing public event or anything. Everybody needs this, and lack of this shows up in your interactions, and that's where probably you would not be given a serious look. And not only cultures, it's also age. How you react with a child and how you react to a person at your age or a person little older than you matters a lot. How you show concern about elderly people at your home also talks a lot about the way you have understood the cultural difference, the diversity in the particular family. Every family may not have different age groups, but wherever they are, the people tend to have a higher level of empathy and a higher level of responding to the needs of others. Now, another bigger skill which we all talk about and we rarely practice, which requires a practice, is listening skills. How does it pan out in a social interaction? Again, you create an empathetic view, and that is, you understand the other person's feelings and also other person's way they are thinking and responding to you, and also understanding how the context is panning out for you to interact with the person. So listening is very important, and it creates a connection. It also creates a reciprocity from the other person. If you are a good listener, you would listen not only to the words but also the behaviors around. You would also pick up the small cues which the person is giving you to understand the context and the person better. Thereby, you will also respond in a way which is helpful. So listening skills are very, very important in socially intelligent person. Sometimes we say that, I had the same wavelength. When I speak to this person, I also feel the person has the same wavelength, and I make the person or the interaction go well. And these are all coming from our understanding of what makes other people tick. You must have seen in some conversations, very, very not so matured conversations, but when whatever you say, the other person says, yeah, same thing. I'm also thinking about it like that. But you have your own doubt. You say, well, why is he so much attuned to me? Sometimes this could be a mask. The person may not be even listening to you or understanding, but then he just wants to go in the way you are going. So those are the skills we are not talking here, but then socially intelligent people will make those cues quick and then make the conversation the direction it has to bring the outcome. So making other people tick is nothing but understanding where they're coming from and responding to that. So emotionally, we need to also tune ourselves to understand their emotions. If they are in a, let's say, anger, but very passive anger, they're not showing it, but then the facial features and the voice, the tone, and the vocabulary they use, and the way they fidget in the chair and all that, actually shows you those cues that the person is not wanting to continue the conversation. He is showing his irritability and wants to end the conversation, or some anger is picking up inside him. So these are more internal feelings which get shown in a behavior. So understanding what other people's emotions are is very important. So in an emotional environment, very important to understand social skills, and this is why we call them as life skills, because whether you have or you don't have is easily recognized by others. You can't mask it. So another skill which we generally talk about is people prescription. So investing in your relationship is worth the effort. We have seen sometimes some scenarios where we are made very uncomfortable when someone who has not invested in a relationship with us, or who have not even showed concern towards us in the past, suddenly drops in and talks about as if we are very good friends, and everybody in the room should acknowledge that whatever the person is saying is like we are knowing each other for a long time, we have gone a long way, kind of a thing. This makes you feel very uncomfortable. You have not invested in a relationship, but you can't exploit just because you know someone. And this particular skill, a lot of times, actually derails the trust in a person. And not only it's a one-to-one interaction, but one-to-many also. Others also start feeling that something is wrong here and probably not trustworthy. And these are the times when the original personality, the negative personalities of people also emerge in social interactions. Like a person who is highly narcissist, like he thinks about himself or she thinks about herself only and doesn't bother about her. There are no primal empathy or empathetic accuracy, and no concern, no synchrony, but then everything is acted out just to gain an outcome. It is shown. People understand it, and a socially intelligent person will pick up fast and they know how to respond that. It's not to hurt others, but then create a scenario where you will communicate to the person that what you are saying is not worth for us. That's one. And second thing, you also have people who behave differently in different contexts, in the sense not for themselves but to hurt others or to create a upmanship or to create certain scenarios where the other people are, put down. Now, these are again negative ones. Why I'm bringing it up here is it's very important to understand the authenticity of a communication or interaction happening around you. And we have certain interactions where egos play a higher role than actual bringing in the sense in a particular conversation. A lot of times we have seen people boasting about themselves, or people underplaying also, when you have extremes. And so socially intelligent people pick up the cues fast and make their decisions faster. So role playing and social self-efficacy. This is something where you're allowing the person feel very comfortable with all types of people. As a result, the socially intelligent individual feels socially self-confident and effective. What psychologists call it as self-efficacy. The ability allows people to adapt to different social environments, having a clear idea of what's expected by them in a variety of different situations, settings, and also it doesn't create a stress for them. It just flows in. Any interaction which is creating a stress for you means there's something you're not connecting, or there's something which is hurting you, and that's why it is creating the stress. In a socially intelligent person, if you are about to get into a conversation, or if you're about to get into an interaction with someone, just play yourself on what is happening with you and then enter that conversation. Probably it would be a better thing if you understand yourself and then move into it. As I told you a few minutes back, that you also have this dark triad where you will be interacting, or sometimes you yourself are so confused that you play out to become a narcissist, or you become a Machiavellian person, multiple personalities, not being anchored in one place, and also create harm to others. As we discuss different skills which compile into social intelligence, we also have this image management skills or impression management skills. In fact, these days we are also being coached how our images should be in a social context. Whatever coaching you take, unless you have it within you, it doesn't play out well. It has to play out well only when you believe and you have a synchrony with it. Even if somebody coaches, the actual self doesn't believe in it, then you get the other one out. So impression management is persons with social intelligence are concerned with the impression they are making on others. Every one of us do. They engage in what I call as dangerous act of impression management, which is a delicate balance between managing and controlling the image you portray to others and being reasonably authentic. The word authentic is very important here. You have to be authentic about your feelings, about how things are going on. At the same time, balance it not to overstep, overdo anything, and letting others see the true self. This is perhaps the most complex element of social intelligence. This is the ability to present ourselves in a way that connects with others without stretching too far from our natural personality. Suppose I know what I am, but I want to go and act just opposite of what I am in a social situation just to manage my image, will show in some way that I am acting, I am not real, I am not true to myself, and people will make out. And what it leaves on me, that I am not fitting in, I am not connecting, and somewhere I feel out of the place. So imagine if those are the situations where you are feeling out of the place, probably you need to examine again and see what is the image you are portraying to others and what is it which you are not accepting about that image. It happens in public speaking. The highly reserved person, when they have to enter the stage and speak, if they don't have the confidence in the subject, probably they will not stand on the stage for 2 minutes. So the confidence of getting into that image which you want to be has to be there. I can't imagine myself to be somebody who, because they are popular and I behave that way, probably doesn't fit in when people see me because they have accepted me like this. and I'm fine with this. It's just that I want to act out somebody else. It shows up, and socially intelligent people will not get into that. So, we all need to understand nuances of social intelligence and developing. As I told you, we are not born with it. We have to develop that. We have to learn and we have to practice. We may have to even prioritize that. Suppose my listening skills are poor, then I have to prioritize and get there and learn and also practice. Suppose I don't have concern for others and I don't know how to display. There are situations where you don't know whether you have to cry or laugh, or whether you need to say something or not say something. In such situations, it's a practice which helps us. So, developing social intelligence, it takes time. If possible, start with young children at your home and inculcate this. You at any age can learn it, provided you are honest about it. So, how do we develop? We have to be patient and attentive to our social environment, work on becoming a better speaker or a conversationalist. If it makes you uncomfortable, then you have to practice it. Networking, organizations, or speaking in certain forums like Toastmasters and Rotarian clubs, or even public speaking forums, you should enter yourself and then face this situation so that you overcome that particular limitation. And work on becoming a more effective listener. A lot of things come by listening. Listening not just only the voices, but also behavior and the environment. So developing social intelligence is not tough, but then you have to start somewhere. You can improve. You can improve your social intelligence. You just need to prioritize it. What comes first? Which is the one which you want to play out first? Start practicing it. And there are coaches who would help you on this, or you yourself have to start experimenting without inhibitions. Take a safe zone, a secure base where you can start and work on it. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.